Greetings, Lewis, and welcome to another video. So this is week number 4 of locals report. This is a little bit more normal than last week. Last week we did play at the $1,000 tournament, which I ended up in top 4, as well as two more tournaments where in one I ended undefeated and one I ended X-2. Uh, these are just two regular tournaments, both in Titan Games. I played on Thursday and I played at the time of this recording, uh, like tonight on Sunday. For the Thursday event, I finished X-1, and for Sunday, I finished X-2. So this today was 5 rounds, and Thursday one was also 5 rounds. So on Thursday, the list was pretty much the same as the one I piloted last week. However, on today's event, I did make one slight change, which we will see in the main deck, as well as the side deck. And uh, for both tournaments, I did make one change to the extra deck, which I will go over. So, before I talk about the deck and talk about the plans moving forward, I should just talk about my losses real quick, or talk about my matchups. Uh, at least the ones I can remember. I remember facing Unchained twice. I remember facing Galaxy Photon, Vanadium, Labyrinth. I think I faced. I'm trying to remember what other matchups did I face. They're kind of all over the place. I did face two Fire Kings. I do remember that. I remember facing. I think that's it. I know that I faced 9 decks in total. Two of them were Fire Kings, two of them were Unchained. One of them was Branded, one of them was Vanadium, uh, which was my one of my losses since Sunday. I did lose to Sprite. I'll talk about that as well. And one other loss that I had was against Kashtira. Now I remember. I did face a Kashtira player at my locals, and I guess I'll talk about my 3 losses. I'll start with the Kashtira one first. That one happened on Thursday. That was my only loss. So I lost the die roll. Game 1, he opened Dimension Shifter, and he pretty much opened full combo. Uh, However, what really was very detrimental to the matchup and what gave the Kashtira player an edge over my deck was the fact that he played Kashtira Ogre with the preparations. And Kashtira Preparations is a really strong card against this deck because the Centur-ION monsters try to activate themselves from the spell and trap zone as continuous traps. Meaning that if you still have cards in your hand while you're trying to do your Centur-ION effects, they can use Kashtira Preparations to just look at your hand and start sniping cards out of it. And if they have Shangri-Ira on board, it just makes it very awkward because they just start locking up your zones. And if they have Pressured Planet, it just makes it very uncomfortable, in general. Game 2, I went first. I pretty much opened a full lockdown mode, and they couldn't resolve anything. On game 3, they went first. They opened Shifter again. However, my loss was not really to Dimension Shifter. This deck actually doesn't really struggle against Dimension Shifter that much. The real big issue of Dimension Shifter is that you lose up, you kind of lose up on having guaranteed follow up. Uh, but outside of that, your Centurion rotation is pretty much the same. The other thing you miss out on is on doing the Calamity Lock, unless you like open really well enough to just put in extra resources onto your board, even through Dimension Shifter. Um, but my loss was not to Dimension Shifter itself. The one outlier that really won them the matchup was Cosmic Cyclone. Pretty much, I was trying to like contest the board. I did open like one copy of Centurion Bonds. I tried to use the effect, and they pretty much just went and they cosmic my Trudea, and that pretty much just made me lose the game. So that was on Thursday. I ended X-1, which put me on fourth place after Swiss. For today's event on Sunday, my first loss was to Vanadium in round 4. Uh, the big issue that I have with Vanadium, and that's just really bad luck from my end. I did not open enough hand traps or enough interruptions against them. And the one time I tried to like stop their board from being formed, because I already know the choke points of the deck, they just had the right extender at the right time. Game 3, his opening hand was Realm Heart. It was Meek Realm Heart, Visa Samsara, Called by the Grave, Crossout Designator. Um, if you know how Vanadium plays by now, you should know that that's pretty much like a really good hand. That's literally everything you need to just like full combo. Because not only did he open the right extenders, but he also opened two spell cards that are pretty much used as catalyst against like specific hand traps that could blow him out of the game. Like for example Nibiru or Droll and Lockbird or Infinite Impermanence. My second loss was to Sprite. Pretty much what happened was on game 3, they opened Dimension Shifter, double Cosmic Cyclone, Melfi Cat, Carrot, Sprite Starter. What really detrimented me the game was the double Cosmic Cyclone. Uh, because Dimension Shifter doesn't really hurt you that all that much. However, if the Dimension Shifter is backed up by Cosmic Cyclone, then it's really hard for you, because they're pretty much pushing out the resources that you have for interruption on their turn, despite you getting shifted. Adding to that, they opened multiple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, so they had answers to like pretty much a lot of cards. Like for example, like my Floodgates or my Field Spell, just to name one or two. But yeah, those are just uncontrollable losses. I really cannot fault myself with the deck when it comes to that. I did brick once, which was on my game 1 against my Galaxy Photon opponent, which was round 3. However, outside of that, I really did not brick that much with this deck. The deck really actually performed just as well. Moving forward, I might make one or two changes. Post Phantom Nightmare, this might be one of my deck choices that I'm probably going to play. Like for the next format, despite the full reign of Snake Eyes. And I'll explain that in another video in the future. But yeah, I'm going to go through the list, and then I'll explain the changes and like stuff that I'll probably change upon, like in the near future. So three Primera, three Trudea, the one Emmet, three Imseti, happy. This lineup has not changed at all. I still play the hand traps. Here the standard 12. Um, One difference that I did make is that I lowered Druid Swarm to 1. So I'm playing 1 Magna, 1 Druid Swarm. Trying to see if I can take off the glare. So I did take off the 1 Druid Swarm, and you'll see the changes. You'll see the replacement once we get to the spell cards. 3 Emblema, 3 Stand Up, the 1 Bonds, the 1 Terraforming, the 1 Call By. Well, the 1 Phalanx, I'll put this inside. The 1 Call By. I don't think this lineup will change anytime soon. I think this is pretty much standard. Not many people are playing Bonds, but I really like Bonds as guaranteed follow up. This also, you also play Bonds because it's your way of playing around double imperm if they end up imperming your Legatia. And twice against Shifter, this like equipping a Centurion from my hand has come up. So overall, I don't think this card will get cut anytime soon. I think Centurion players playing this deck moving forward should really consider this card. As you already saw, I'm playing Imseti and I'm playing Happy, so we are still on 2 sarcophagus. We're still on 3 talents, and the one change I made is I swapped the Druid Swarm for Tactic Thrust. I really like Thrust in the deck. Every time I open it, I pretty much went second. So just conveniently having a card that just works well against your opponent's interruptions uh, is pretty cool. It's pretty ideal. So main deck is still 41 cards. So for this deck, Artemis, SP, Dark, 38, 68. One change that I did make, I replaced the BLS link for Dingirsu. I'm playing Vampire, Typhon. These are pretty much the same. Double Legatia, Crimson, and Howard. Cosmic Blazer, this did come up. It came up against my Labyrinth matchup, and it came up against like my Vanadium opponent. Outside of that, I think it's perfectly fine just to play the one copy of Calamity, like for as your Crimson target. So I don't regret this lineup at all. In the future, I will want to play Chaos Archfiend. That's one monster I want to put in my Astro deck. And most likely the replacement for it will be most likely Scarlight. It's either Scarlight or is like number 38 because I have not found myself making this as much as I did like last week. I still think if you're playing a Horus in your engine, you should really consider this card. especially now because post Phantom Nightmare, you're gonna really need a card like this one in order to like survive the onslaught against like Fire Kings and Snake Eyes, be it the hybrid or be it like in general. Against the Silent Force deck, this also prevents the low, as it's called now, or the Novox, from special herself from grave. So that's another important note. So yeah, that's pretty much it from the yesterday side. So for side deck, so I'm playing triple draw, triple cosmic, triple lockdown, triple judgment, and one change I did make from last week is that instead of playing Artifact Lancia, I switched it up for Denko Seka and Feather Duster. So the main reason for Denko is because it not only is it good against like the Rescue Ace matchup when they end on SP plus like one monster plus four sets, but this also is fairly strong against Labyrinth, whether you're going first or second. Some people just don't like shotgunning their traps immediately. If they do, that's what other cards like the Bestials, Ash, and like Ghost Ball are from, like stuff like that. For the non-chainable traps, or for the people who just are trying to hold on to their chainables, to then further punish you, you just punish them by summoning Denko. Uh, they you can also prevent labyrinth players from using their furnitures. You cannot activate your furniture effects under Denko Seka because they need to set whatever you're setting from the deck. So moving forward, this might still be my side. One card that I do want to play, that card comes out in Phantom Nightmare, is Iron Thunder. Iron Thunder pretty much just makes it so we have three extra copies of Sullen Judgment. Uh, I still like Deck Lockdown. I think that the purpose behind Deck Lockdown is just to force your opponent to get rid of it uh, instead of your field spell. If they don't get rid of this, they pretty much like almost locked out of the game. If they do get rid of this, that means they did not get rid of stand up Centurion, unless you're like my sprayed opponent and you open just multiple cosmics. But yeah, moving forward, this might become Iron Thunder, and we just have like six main deck counter traps. The main reason I bring that up is because setting up Calamity Lock can just be a game ender against a lot of decks. However, the setup for this to be possible is fairly weak to cards like Cosmic Cyclone, and that's where the counter traps come in. I don't play the Centurion trap card because the counter trap card, like the Awakening of the Centurion, the True Awakening, uh, that card is a lot weaker uh, to resolve than Sullen Judgment is. Adding to that, it also means that you are not pressured into using like your Centurion materials just to stop your opponent from like resolving their plays. You just end up just saying no instead and without any restrictions whatsoever. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. This was just a very brief tournament report. The week after this one would be when the sneak peek of Phantom Nightmare is starting, and that's probably going to be very interesting because one of my locals that I don't go to regularly, but I do go every so often, they're hosting a tournament and it's pretty much with the set legal. So maybe next week will be a little bit more interesting since it's leading up to the sneak peek. And then the week afterwards would be the official release of Phantom Nightmare, which is pretty much just going to be a different format in itself. Moving forward, once Phantom Nightmare is actually legal, I'll probably move Droll and Lockbird into the main deck because this will be a very important card, like very like next format. I That pretty much just gives you extra spots, which could be Iron Thunder unless you want to like swap these for that. There's also Sullen Scolding. That's another really good one that you can play. But that one is a little bit more heftier on your life points. But yeah, that's pretty much the game plan. Uh, More updates coming soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.